weren't expecting it, to be completely honest, but a lot of people are still asking us about impact metrics. And when we think of impact, it's very difficult to measure. There is not yet a global framework, let's say, the same way that we've got for climate metrics. The TCFD can very clearly define what transition and physical risks are, for example. When it comes to impact, it's a lot more broad. It depends on how you define impact. So when we wanted to empower the use of impact metrics for our clients, rather than establish our own definition, we worked with the Sustainable Development Goals that were very much in demand for clients, that the way they define impact is through the UN-defined SDGs. So that is how we decided to start working with the SDGs. Why we're improving the methodology or enhancing it is because historically we've only looked at positive alignment. We were very much trying to see who is actually impacting in a good way, aligned to the SDGs. However, in recent years, clients have also come to us to say, well, what about the reverse? What about negative impact? There's more regulations coming out with SFDR, as you mentioned. There's a lot of changes there with the taxonomy. There's so much on impact that we thought it's also a good way to measure what companies are doing that could be considered negative impact. And that's what really motivated that enhancement of the methodology as well.
Cool. Having that enhancement in mind, what are the key changes that you really brought into that methodology now?
Yep. So historically, all we did was simply align the business activities of companies against one of the SDG targets within the 17 goals, and then simply aligned that revenue percentage to the percentage aligned to the SDGs. To give an example, if you were looking at renewables, you would be considered aligned, for example, to SDG 13 by, if your revenue was 20% renewables, 20% to SDG 13. However, what we've now tried to do is actually create a label that is more easy to interpret and more widely used, rather than just a percentage of positive revenue alignment. So instead, what we're looking at, how are we really defining the impact behind the activities of companies? Is it very positive? Is it positive, moderately positive, neutral, or on the flip side, which would be the exact same but negative? So we're no longer just looking at, does the company have positive alignment, but what about controversies? Maybe the company is looking at renewables, maybe the company is producing products that are good for women, but there's also controversies of sexual abuse, for example, in the company or again in the community. So these things are really important to take into account so that we're no longer just looking at what companies are presenting within their balance sheets or within their income statements, within their geographic and business segments, but really understanding beyond the activities, what is actually contributing to the SDGs and what is hindering from us reaching them.
Okay, that sounds like a significant progress towards a more holistic understanding of impact. What do you think this will actually create an impact by itself to the market? Will it be easier to use it in client conversations?
Yeah, and that's a question we get all the time. Ultimately, because impact is so difficult to define, it's very important to be able to quantify it. We often have people who come to us, or clients and users, that really want us to be less quantifying the way that we're describing impact. The problem with that is that if you look at things like CSR activities, you can't really quantify the impact. You can say, great, they've done, some charity organizations, a lot is going on. But as an investor, how can you actually say you're investing in this company, and what does that mean for you if your objective is impact investing? So it's great, but if you really have to measure it, we do need to quantify it. And that's one of the reasons that we incorporated these new changes in the methodology, why we incorporated controversies, why it's no longer just the positive alignment, but also the negative, because we really want to be able to quantify that impact when our clients are setting strategies, either on a portfolio level, either from a strategic perspective, if they're considering investing in a company, rather than just looking at what the company is doing externally, you're also taking into account things that go beyond the SDGs and therefore negate what they could be doing for the SDGs. So that's what we're hoping to see from impact. If we cannot measure it, it's very difficult to report on it. But using this, we're able to measure it. Again, we always have to think quantitatively because it's also not an opinion. This is no rating or credit rating in any way, and we have to be very explicit as this because S&P Global is also a credit rating agency, and we're very explicit that this is not an opinion. This is a fully quantifiable metric. Anyone is able to recreate it. And that's very important because then when you're thinking strategically or when it comes to decision making, you have numbers to back those decisions rather than just, and I don't mean just an opinion, but meaning because it is not something that's very analytical and in-depth, it is more widely used across a range of companies and portfolios.